Let's fucking go. We about to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. Let's fucking go. We going out blazing.
Let's get hunting.
This is population. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. 24/7 researching, it's all a fantasy. But if I make the right plays, it pays automatically. Bankroll showing that I know it dope strategy. On a winning streak, I'm stacking a dose of the bookies, all get mad at me. Confident with how it plays, not clicking on a flex today. 10 times the money, and we all about to get paid. Arrogant Josh on the stream, they be killing it. Never gonna stop it, they like if you feeling it. Digging the players, they all never time. You can't make up your mind and just go with your gut. Fantasizing Sasha Clown. Gabby Williams said, watch your mouth. They 1 and they 2, I play the over, they come through. Jackie Young and Kelsey Plum, pick them both, we stacking them. Going big to the maximum, just push them if we cashing them. Let's fucking go. We about to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. Let's fucking go. We going out blazing. This is population. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. We about to go big.
This is the game.
We going out blazing.
Let's get hunting.
This is population. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks.
Hey, what is up, crew? Happy Friday. We wanted to get a stream out for the group, crew and everyone over the weekend because, the games don't start till Sunday for WNBA, but you'll have all weekend to watch this in case you miss it. And we figure, probably not that many people coming in live, but yeah, just want to get this recorded and out there because we'll be gone over the weekend. How are you doing, Eric?
Sorry, my dogs are going crazy right now.
Oh, okay. You're good. Yeah, so 2 games Sunday. One of the games everyone's really excited about is the first one at 4 p.m. Eastern, Seattle at Las Vegas. Really high implied total, usual implied total for Vegas since they run the fastest pace. It's at 170.5. And these two teams have played recently twice already, and they were great games, high scoring. So we should expect the same thing here. Although, in response to that, all of the props are really juiced for the primary key pieces on both sides of the ball. So it's going to be tricky. We're going to have to really pick and choose our props carefully because, they're just – I feel like a lot of them are priced appropriately and just really high. But there's so much potential in this game. You have 2 really high potent offenses, really efficient going at it. So we should see a shootout, I assume. I think we can narrow in on the key pieces. But let's start with Seattle, the visiting team. That most recent game they played to end the season was a great game. Let's see. Jewel went absolutely nuclear. 8 of 14 from 3, 38 points. And even with this shot volume and efficiency scoring, Breanna Stewart still got it done scoring as well. She had 21 points still. And she shot 1 of 5 from 3. So she made just one other 3. She would have cleared her point prop at 22.5. So, I think we expect the same thing here from both Bree, Sue, and Jewel chucking it from 3 because that's what teams do against Vegas. They allow the most threes and most 3-point attempts. So I still don't think we don't have those props yet, the 3-point props or any other secondary props, but we can try to guess what they're going to be. I think Breanna Stewart, she's been staying at 2, and then Jewel's been at 2, but I think due to the matchup and how efficient she's been from 3, I think it could go up to 2.5. I hope not. I really hope it stays at 2, and I would be interested in that. So for me, I think it's going to be decent exposure to Jewel's threes or her points. And then I'm trying to figure out what to do with Brandon Stewart because we want her in this matchup, fast-paced matchup, increased shot volume. She's going to try to carry the team. What are your thoughts so far with the current props for Seattle?
Yeah, some of them have a bit of appeal, as you mentioned with Brown and Stewart. I'm really trying to narrow down what kind of exposure I want to get. Either her points, fantasy score. 'Cause she's been just, I mean, dominating lately, and even in this matchup, she's been pushing some 50, 60 burgers. So I think we definitely have to get exposure to her and Jewel. I kind of like that hedge to our maybe Tina unders if we're still considering those, because she's looked horrible in the postseason so far, like absolutely horrible. And thankfully, the coaches decided to actually pull her instead of letting her just tank the game for them. So I think for Jewel, we'll probably either points and we'll see what her 3-point props are. I think that they'll probably only give us Bird at 1.5, and everyone else will probably be at 2 and above.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're in the second round of the postseason, and more than likely lines are going to stay fairly tight. And with Prize Picks posting lines, like 3 days in advance right now, they're trying to dip the bait and see where the field's betting right now before, locks before Sunday. Hopefully we get secondary props. I would say maybe tomorrow at the latest, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
we could look out and get them, late again tonight. So stay tuned for that. But I think for today or for this matchup, Seattle, it's got to start with those two pieces, huh?
I agree. Tina is the wild card though, because yes, she has kind of phased out, but I want to pick your brain on this. Do you think it was just due to matchup? Because Washington being so stout in the paint and good at rebounding, like Ezzy was, I feel like just a better matchup for them, and they just went to Ezzy more. And maybe it was just due to matchup, and yeah, I mean Tina's minutes went down in that series, that those 2 games in that series, and Ezzy got more minutes and run. I feel like Vegas, it's a better spot for Tina because of her outside shooting potential, and you want that against Vegas on the 3-point line. I mean, in that most recent game, she took 6 threes. So, where am I? Oh no, not that game. The game before that, she took 6 threes. The other game, she only took 1, but she still played 28 minutes, and yeah, she was not great in that one either. But in the other one, she had 19, and these games were only like a week apart. I just don't know. I feel like she's going to be the absolute wild card. She can either hurt other props like Jewel and Bree, or if you play her, she could hurt you by just continuing this poor performance. What is your thoughts? Which way are you leaning on her?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to, have a clear picture about this because the most recent game, she ended up with 5 fouls, and I remember she was in massive, or I'm pretty sure she was in pretty huge foul trouble in the first half. But she had a couple of turnovers, and just it was a bad performance all in all for her, and she's definitely the question mark here because the time that she has on the floor, not only between the rebounding, but also her shot volume alone takes away so much from the team. And we've seen Stewart, for example, her rebounding, she's been pretty well locked in for a double-double for the last several games now. And large part that's been due to Tina being off the floor. And we've kind of seen this offense switch around a little bit too. This last game, we had Tina take the back seat, and we had Gabby in kind of a really weird, just basically guard role the entire game. And she didn't do any kind of facilitating, didn't even attempt the rebounding. She just turned around and went for the 3-point line. So we could see something like that here again. I don't expect that same kind of random shooting performance from her, but Tina's definitely live to light him up in this matchup since we know that Vegas is weak to the perimeter long ball, and teams just have to find success usually that way because it's so hard to attack them up front between Asia and now Stokes guarding that front court. So she's definitely a question mark right now. I know we've been on her unders lately, but might have to just kind of go with the gut calls here.
Yeah, maybe we just stay away for game one and let's see how for game one how Seattle coach approaches it, and we'll see if Tina goes back up to her 32 minute range here, and if not, if she's back down to around 20 minutes and splitting even with Ezzy, then we'll know for the other remaining games what to do. So yeah, let's just stay away and hope she doesn't eat into the other players. Speaking of Gabby, have you seen any news on her? Because she suffered a concussion that last game against Washington, but that's been over a week now. So I imagine she has cleared the protocol.
Yeah, she should be good to go.
Okay.
Not only from the extra day that they had off from winning and the extended time throughout the week. So unless any underlying stuff, but I haven't seen any kind of tweets or reports about it, so she should be good to go.
Okay. Um. Okay. So back to wrap up with Bree and Jewel. Are you just gonna like split up your exposure with Bree because she can do so much and do it all, like and not just limit it to one prop for her? Where you split it between like her points and her rebounds and maybe even the fantasy, because yes, it's high, but the potential is with her playing 30 or probably 36 minutes is so high.
Yeah, I think honestly we get, and for a couple of reasons, to have even exposure to a couple of her props. Say for example, like right now, early looks, I really like her rebounds.
Hmm.
Honestly, any of these star caliber centers, their rebounds underneath 10 are going to be in play for us. I think between Parker, Asia, Stewart, and we'll get to Connecticut, chopping that up, but any of these and all of their rebounds are actually right now opening under 10. And in this matchup between Asia and Stewart, even in the games that Tina was on the floor, I mean, there was so many rebounds to go around. It's insane.
She had 15 that last game.
Yeah.
And
But
this was the last game of the season too.
yeah, exactly. And they played really hard, and we got NBA caliber score results here, triple digits. So I think this game we could definitely expect the score to be in the high 80s, low 90s, somewhere around there, and with some kind of consistency for this matchup. Um, but going back to her props though, you got to kind of, when you're building your card construction, if you're going to go with, say, Stewart's rebounds, you're assuming that Tina Charles is probably going to have a bad game or that she's going to be a little less involved. So correlate your cards, accordingly with that. If you think that she's just going to go hard in the paint and she draws a couple fouls, maybe give her free throws a look whenever we see those. But I think it's definitely smart for not only this being game one, but the uncertainty that we've had with Tina, just to kind of hedge your bets here for this first matchup.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, especially for the first matchup. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Any other Seattle props? Sue. I mean, she obviously has assist potential, but we've seen Gabby and Bree eat into the total team assist, and so it's gonna be a sweat. It's gonna be like right there on the line, but it's fast paced, a lot of shots going up, and then she has the 3-point potential too. But yeah, 9 points. You're hoping, yeah, that she's pretty efficient from three, at least making 2 threes, and then hopefully getting a couple mid-range buckets. What are your thoughts on her? Are you staying away or?
Probably staying away. I might have a little bit of an exposure to her assist prop just because she's got 7 in the 2 away games against Vegas. But it's like you said, it's right there on the line. And I believe the last game we were kind of high on her assists, and she didn't have like any assists whatsoever.
It was all Bree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was pretty unfortunate, and she just had a real poor performance all around. So maybe with it being a pace-up matchup and some exposure to the 3-point prop, but I think honestly maybe just her 3-point prop and assist, and that's gonna be about it.
Yeah, yeah. I think if we get her, we might not even get her 3-point prop. We never know. They've been kind of in the playoffs holding back on some of these secondary props, depending on what kind of prop it is. So we'll see. Hopefully, we get all three of Sue, Jewel, and Bree's 3-point props. But if it's at 1.5, I think it's definitely a consideration with just like how juiced everything is. Okay, and then any other Seattle players for you, or is it just going to be Bree and Jewel?
Yeah, really just for this first round, Bree and Jewel, just some exposure to that, and maybe a little bit to Tina as well to hedge my bets.
Yep. I will say, if Tina gets normal run, her PR is pretty low for her rebound potential and scoring. So,
Yeah, I agree with that.
because it's not taxed either. It's just straight up even bet line with 13.5 points plus 7, 20.5. So, okay. Am I missing anything? Okay. Yeah, I guess we can move to Vegas now. Again, everything's pretty juiced here, except I think Jackie's lines are still reasonable. They didn't really get touched at all. They're what it's been for like the last couple weeks. Her point total, her assist, rebound, and even her fantasy is not really juiced at all. So that's probably my favorite play for Vegas is Jackie's fantasy because we know how she is at home. I know if you look at it at that last game of the season, you're going to see 25 minutes and 2 points, but she checked out right with like some type of illness and she just wasn't right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Something was going on with her. So I think you can't really look at that and take anything away from it. Yeah, we always go with Jackie at home, and I think it's a great spot here. But then you always run into the risk of Chelsea Gray, the black hole, doing what you saw here in this game. She was just chucking it, and she was really feeling herself in this game, and so aggressive. 11 free throws, 2 of 4 from 3, which is really not like her. 33 points. I mean, she just did everything. There's always that possibility. So I will say, back to hedge betting, it would make sense to not go all in on Jackie and to have some cards where you have Chelsea Gray line, maybe fantasy. I would probably just go with Chelsea's fantasy because she has the potential to do so much. And cards that doesn't have Jackie's fantasy. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely, because we've seen those two, especially at home, just trade off back and forth between who's showing off that night, and it's a bit of a roll of the dice. I think that I definitely agree that Jackie's been the more consistent home player. It could be a little bit of a tougher matchup because we know how Seattle is and how tough they are on opposing guards. But I think with Jackie, I gotta give her the nod over Chelsea just from her agility and her quickness alone. Chelsea's a big, stocky player, and she's good at boxing out and shot creation, but that's not going to work against Seattle so well. And she has a bit of a turnover, rate already, and you're talking about now the number 1 team in created turnovers. So she could have a really, really tough game. And now if you're asking for her to shoot the ball and do even more than what she's already doing with, facilitating, and she's been hacking lately too, picking up a handful of fouls in the first half. So you got a couple of risks there, and it's a little risky, but I think that those are, for the guards outside of Plum and her potential, a good 1A, 1B option.
Yeah, I agree with you on priority being Jackie 1 and then Chelsea being 2, but just hedging Jackie with Chelsea, a little bit of exposure. But for me, because like you said, Seattle can be stout perimeter defense on guards. I probably am just going to stick with fantasy for both Chelsea and Jackie because maybe they don't get it done scoring, but they could still fill the stat line and get it done fantasy-wise. Would you agree on that, or is there any other individual prop lines you like for them?
No, I definitely agree, because you and I had kind of been in this situation where we were talking about Jewel Lloyd the last time, and on the fence of should we go with her points or her fantasy score because she might be doing just a couple of extra things. And Jackie's been picking up some stocks as well lately. Been cruising around about 2 stocks in the last couple of games. So if we can get 6 points on a buffer there, and even in a poor shooting performance, if she's filling up the stat sheet, she can definitely get us there. And I think this game's going to go down to the wire enough that we don't see the starters get pulled.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Kelsey Plum, lover, my favorite player in WNBA.
Birthday girl.
Birthday girl. Yeah, it was just her birthday. The only problem is the Chelsea Gray effect. And then there's just so many mouths to feed, and then Seattle being so, like we already said, being so stout on the perimeter, one of the best perimeter defenses, and also limiting threes too. What are your thoughts on? For me, if I was gonna go with the Plum prop, it would be her just a straight up raw points potential here. What are your thoughts on her, and how would you rank her relative to let's say Asia and Jackie?
I like Asia quite a bit. I'm not gonna lie. She might be one of my favorite plays from Vegas side of things, but Plum's definitely right there. She's had some pretty good games against them. So far for the season, her lowest scoring game, she put up 16 points in both the meetings at Seattle. And now that we're back at home for Vegas, I think that we could definitely consider, or her best line is probably just straight up points, but maybe even points assists, just hedge a little bit in case we see, Gray have a spike game or a Gray game again. And Jackie's filling it up with, or Plum's filling it up with assists again, because we haven't really seen her be that assist magnet for a little bit. She's been the volume magnet for the guards.
Yeah, I always like either her points or her point assists. I'm with you on that. Okay, so talk to me about Asia. She's had great success against Seattle, so totally makes sense. And yeah, I mean she's absolutely crushing them. And we've always said the probably the best way to attack Seattle, because I mean just overall they have like one of the best defensive ratings in the league. But I would say their main weakness and where you can exploit them is in the inside. So
Yeah, Asia looked pretty good. They didn't juice her real points, and I think I have quite a bit of interest in that.
mm-hmm.
And as well as her rebounding. I mean, she's had some just stacked games. 3 out of the 4 games were double-double, easy double-doubles. And even just going back to her history, seeing her play against them last year, she put up basically back-to-back 11 rebound games. And this is probably going to be another night where we see the Vegas starters play another 34 to 38 minutes even.
Yep.
Some chance for overtime. So
Yep.
I think for this game, I absolutely love Asia. Basically the mirror of Seattle and Breanna Stewart. Love her real points, love her rebounds. And you could probably consider the fantasy as well, just on production. And the only thing that's probably going to give people a little scare is just seeing her in the last couple matchups and how inefficient in the scoring, like real points department, she's been. But that was actually something that we kind of anticipated, and I feel like we hit that right on the head. But she's due for a monster game, and
She really is.
I think honestly she's going to put up 25 points, a good 11, 12 rebounds easy.
Totally with you on that. Hamby, what's her status? I know it was like a 2-week expectation, and that was at least I want to say a week and a half ago. Is there any updates on her? Or she still remain out for game 1?
Let me look real quick.
Because that'll be key because they don't have Stokes on the board, so I didn't know if that was another reason why it's like they're just waiting on confirmation that Hamby's out.
She's expected to return on Sunday,
Okay.
but it hasn't been updated since earlier this week.
Okay, well then that makes things easier for deciding on any Stokes props. They'll just probably split the minutes evenly. Okay, and then trying to think of any secondary props that we usually like for Vegas here. 'Cause we know what their secondary props are going to be. They're always pretty standard. Asia will probably be at 3.5 for her free throws and 3 block steal.
She'll be at 4 free throws
You think
at
so?
least. Yeah, definitely.
I'll change it 4. And then I'll probably at 3 threes, and then they've been giving us Jackie lately at 1.5. I'm probably I don't know. Nothing really standing out to me. I mean, obviously Asia's free throws are always live, but I'm with you. I just probably want her point potential here. I would say probably points, rebound, and then her PR.
Yeah. They might actually give us Gray's turnovers at 2 again. If we get
That
that,
would be nice.
I was gonna say I'll definitely have interest in that.
Plum 2, she's always prone to turn it over. So
Yeah, I think because we were betting some unders, or she missed out on the game. No, we bet unders, and then they bumped it the game before, and then I think she missed last game, so it could open at 2.5 for her, and that would be extremely juicy.
okay, anything else for Vegas?
No, I think that's gonna be about it.
I'm totally with you. Jackie and Asia are my favorite. So, and then I will hedge bet with Chelsea and Plum.
Yeah, Plum's good enough to play, honestly, by herself or alongside any of the other mediocre pieces.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Not much to catch up on chat. Every day, what to do, gents? Always great to get together for Fred. Hey, appreciate them in. I hope you're gonna join you Friday. What's up, Rob? Song gets me hype. Oh, I love this song, man. Never gets old. Hey, what up, Skimmer? Got the usuals in here. All right, next game. Starts about 4 hours later in the evening, 8 p.m. Eastern. Lower spread at 165.5. And we get one of our favorite teams, Connecticut. Man, we didn't talk about it. Man, did they burn us on what was it, like 2 nights ago?
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about that game. So we're just going to move on. Connecticut at Chicago. Really tight spread at 3.5 in favor of Chicago. These two teams, you look at them and you're like, oh man, you got some solid defenses here. It's gonna be an ugly matchup. But if you look at the history, just this season, these teams put up points on each other. I mean, they've been close games, and really high totals, like around 85 to 90 points for each team, and down to the wire too. And one of the games went to overtime. And Chicago won, and Chicago swept them, won all 4 games in the series. Connecticut could just not get over the hump and beat them this season. I imagine, Connecticut, they're going to win one in the series for sure. I don't know about game 1, but yeah, the most recent game, 94 to 91, and the game prior to this one, Kansas didn't play, and it went to overtime. So these teams, yeah. They light it up, the scoreboard when they play each other. Connecticut, for me, I know JJ Jungle burned us 2 nights ago by getting 3 fouls in the first half. I will say, at least, definitely one of them, if not 2, of the fouls were not her fault. It was just poor officiating, offensive charge calls on her.
Real fast, just thinking about that, man. I knew I should have brought it up even more so on the last stream. Thinking back to the regular season, every time the game was played in Dallas, like any team, that officiating crew was the worst.
That's true.
As soon as we were talking about locking in unders and stuff, and I felt so great about it, and then I was like, oh my God, the game's in Dallas. Like, this is a nightmare for free throws.
Very true.
So we'll remember that for next year.
Always. I'll never forget that night. Every variance was just all in the house favor. Everything went in the favor of the house. Back to JJ. Her fantasy didn't change. It's still at 31.5. I'm going to go right back to her. I'm going to have goldfish memory. Yeah, sure, the foul potential's there because of Asia Wilson. But, you see in the most recent game, she only had 1 foul. If she's playing 32, 34 minutes. I think she crushes her fantasy. I mean, Chicago all season long we have attacked them in the paint. They've given up the second most points in the paint. And JJ is just the fantasy monster. You saw she only played 7 minutes in the first half 2 nights ago, and still almost cleared her fantasy point line. So that's probably my favorite for Connecticut. And then I can't wrap my head around any of the other players because this is so inconsistent up and down. What is your thoughts on Connecticut?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely going to go right back to JJ here. She's been good in the last 5 of 7 games, so right there with you about having that goldfish memory. It was a Dallas night and a whole bunch of nonsense.
Yep.
So, and we saw with Chicago in their game, like they were getting smacked around, and refs were just so passive. They were like, "Nope, go ahead and play, no big deal."
Yep.
So this will definitely be an interesting series because I love that you, with the breakdown here, that these two teams really get up to play this matchup, and we've had some, pretty much NBA caliber scores up there, and it's pretty wild that I was hoping this would be our final 4 teams. The wild cards in the first round were a few surprises here and there, but these are definitely the 4 teams of the league. Like, and we've seen it all year.
Yeah, I mean, look at this is the 4 games. So if you can see it here, 94-91 was the most recent, and then 95-92 was at overtime, and then 91-83 was in June, and then way earlier in the season it was 83-79. So all spreads less than 10 too, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen their minutes reflect that as well. A lot of these starters, they're playing 35, almost even 36 minutes for some of them. Connecticut's going to be, I think, maybe we'll need a little bit of time heading to the weekend to really, really break this team down because they are so untrustworthy on the road and so frustrating.
Uh-huh.
Now, I will say they left a lot of the first half props, and I mean, most of the props in general just were reposted. So we're getting a benefit in our favor. And in this matchup, we know Chicago's one of the worst in points in the paint allowed. And that's what JJ and Alyssa Thomas do best. And it's been kind of weird seeing Alyssa Thomas and her kind of game flow as of recently because she's been so involved, especially in shooting in the first half and just really doing a lot, but not filling up the assist category. Last game, I know that burned us. But the second half is where we're seeing, and this could be due to penalty or to foul calls and some of that in the game flow. But in the second half, she's extremely passive on actually scoring, and she starts working the glass a lot more and really hunkers down on the defensive. So I think probably just taking some fantasy scores for either her or JJ. If you don't want to play JJ, you could definitely go to Alyssa here. She's got some unreal scoring upside, and this could be a matchup. Maybe she steps a little bit more forward, but there's a lot of mouths to feed on this team. So, and I swear this is the most moody team ever to figure out because they will have such a hot start and then second half completely gone, like out of memory. And we saw that happen this last game too, not even with the foul calls, but like Courtney Williams, for example, and Heidemann ghost in the first half and then come out. Heidemann, she ended up with how many points? Like double
11.
digit? Yeah, 11.
She hit 3 threes, I think.
Yeah, so it's a weird. I think it's going to be a weird breakdown for this team, and this will be my least exposure to any of the props, hands down.
Yeah, it totally makes sense because I will say that out of all 4 teams, the Connecticut is the only team that we can never really fully get a good grip on. But the other 3 teams, we know what to expect. And we have our plan and strategy with those 3 teams. We know who to target and what to expect. But Connecticut, out of 14 remaining teams, I feel like is the one that's the wild card.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm with you on the fantasy for Alyssa. It's gone down. It was all up at 35.5 last game. So it's coming back down to where it should be. It's at 33.5. So she just got to cut down on the turnovers. I think she had like 5 or 6 against
Yeah.
Dallas. It was insane. But yeah. I wanted to bring up your thoughts on Brianna Jones. So her points are back down to 12.5. They've been it's been at 13.5 for the longest time, and we always like it when it starts to come back down to like around that 12-point range. Great spot for her. I think against Dallas, because of McCowan and how they were checking McCowan in every time, it kind of made it mess up the flow. I feel like for Connecticut and Brandon Jones' rotation and play. I think she could really thrive here in this matchup. What are your thoughts on her 12.5 points?
Yeah, absolutely. And for her, she's going to be matching up and coming in against Azra. And we know that Azra can definitely hack. She will get in some foul trouble sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be interesting because now we're not going to have this perfect, immovable object, unstoppable force going that Dallas had against them with McCowan. You have just Emma and Parker in the starting unit, and that's really her worst competition. And she's coming in off the bench now, so she's going to have Azra basically for the entirety of that, and then have Twin Towers plus whenever Candace is back on the floor. So she can actually be a huge problem for this team. And I'm really interested to see what they're going to open her free throw props at as well. She missed this
Mm-hmm.
last game, so we actually could get it opened back at 3. And I think if we get it under 3.5 at just an even 3, I'll definitely have interest with that as well.
I think so. It's going to be 3 or 3.5. It's been 3.5 for a while. Hopefully, I mean, it would be awesome if they brought it back down to 3. And then, are you touching any of the other Connecticut props?
Right now, no. I'm going to go back and rewatch the game footage probably later on tonight and look at the play-by-plays just to see if maybe there's somewhat of an edge for, say, the first half props or team starter props. Because we were dead on it with Bonner and her real points, but unfortunately missed with the 3-pointers because they only shot 1 3-pointer in the entire 6 minutes. So I think we could definitely have interest in the Connecticut starter field goals made in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
They've been going back and forth between leaving it at 3.5 and 4, and I think 4 is probably safe for or is in more of a play for a push, but 3.5 would be great.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's Chicago, man. They just get destroyed inside. Okay, we'll keep an eye out for that prop. I'll write it here, so keep a note so I don't forget. Team starters, football made. Okay.
What's the chances that they give us Alyssa Thomas's stocks at 1.5 again?
I mean, I think so. I mean, she barely cleared it. I mean, she had 2, right, last game.
Yeah.
I think they will. What did she have that last game? Oh, all the starters just had 1 stock. Wow, that's crazy because they all played over 30 minutes. Huh. And a high shot volume game. I don't know. It's always live though. Okay. They really nerfed the backcourt for Connecticut because how bad they've been playing, and then it's not a good matchup for them. Chicago being number 1 in 3-point defense, least amount of threes allowed. So yeah, I would probably just stay away from them. And then let's move on to our.
I think Bonner is probably the only live one out of any of them, just because she's got such size and she can create some of her own plays at least. But I mean, Heidemann has 0 chance, and Courtney, I mean, you're just rolling the dice on high variance there.
Yeah, something's going on with her.
I think she wants to get traded, honestly.
I wouldn't surprise me. She fought her own teammate in Atlanta and fought her way out of that team. All right, let's move to a team that we feel much better about. And I feel like that we've really nailed down and really know what to do with this team in Chicago. They juiced Courtney a lot, Vandersloot. I mean, rightfully so. Just super effective doing it all. Her points went up by 1. Her assists was back to 7. Her PRA and her fantasy went up by 2. It was at 28.5 and 22.5 for PRA. And yeah, so those both went up by 2. We'll see if we get her usual block steal at 1.5. What man? I still want exposure, but I would say that the one I feel most confident in is Candace for her rebounding, because it did. I think it should be at 10. It should be at 9.5. Because you heard her, like, after that last game, she said she knows her role now in the stage of her career, and that's the rebound. And they're going to need her big time because Connecticut is number 1 in rebounding. So I feel like she's going to focus on rebounding even more so. And then what's up with Copper? She missed practice today. Was that just precautionary, or is there something going on?
I actually haven't been able to find anything on that, because was it last week that she walked out of the locker room or the training room or something like that?
Last week, last Friday she turned her ankle.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely could be something. I didn't see anything from their Twitter feed or from like shoot-arounds or anything like that. So up in the air right now, unless there's something that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because they dropped her point prop back down to 16. I don't know if that's just because of the matchup. Her being at the 3 spot now is a little bit tougher matchup for her against Alyssa and banging around with JJ and them. I will say that if we get her free throw prop at our usual 3.5, I think you could really consider that with how physical they are and will foul inside the paint. But just we gotta before you play any props for her, we gotta find out her health status. So keep an eye out for that for sure. And then I see Candace had 12 rebounds. That's probably my favorite prop. What is your favorite lanes as of right now before we get secondary props for Chicago?
Yeah, I really love the Parker rebound prop. And here, bring my sheet up real fast. I think for Vandersloot, I still have some interest in her, maybe fantasy, but we honestly could see the guard still be really just non-existent for Connecticut here. And I think that has me a little worried as far as going back to her fantasy side, just because she might not have that same stock upside here. If they're just going to keep the ball in the front court and out of the guard hands.
She had 4 steals that last game.
Yeah.
But I will say that going along with your game theory, I think the big reason, Courtney played 30 plus minutes. She has not touched close to 30 minutes as of late in the playoffs. So, yeah. But Sims will turn it over. Man, is she a turnover machine in the playoffs? She checks in and right away. I feel like it's just turnover.
Yeah, she's been such a wild card for the team. But I do love, and we were spot on with Carrington playing last game. And man, she looked amazing. She was so good for them.
She should be playing over Courtney, but
yeah, honestly, I hope she starts, and that would be amazing. That would be the craziest thing ever. But I think that would be like a game 3 call or something wild.
Yeah, like desperate. Yeah, if we get any news on Copper, let's say something's up and she's limited or she's dealing with something, I think we jump on Vandersloot before her props potentially go up even more so, because if Copper's down, Courtney's going to have to take even more shots. I mean, she took 13 in this last matchup, more than KFC did. So, and had 20 points. I feel like we could even consider her 12.5 points here.
Yeah, I've honestly been on her points since the postseason started, and she's kind of squeaked over the line a couple games, but she's been super efficient in the first half, just doing so much of everything, and that was a large reason why we loved her fantasy score. But this is a really low bar for her, and she's been shooting a couple extra threes along the way too, so that's been nice.
Mm-hmm.
I th- I think right now, early looks, I like her points quite a bit, and then I think maybe this time we get off her fantasy and go for her PRA.
Oh, what I wanted to bring up, we for the first time ever, we have Rebecca Gardner. Props. She's been so important in this playoff run, and when she checks in, she's like the defensive. You know what's crazy about her is that she's a rookie in the league, and she's like 32 or 33 years old, or maybe even like 35. I had to check. She's like really old.
Yeah, I think you said she was 34.
34. Okay. Yeah. But it's her first season in the league. But she's been so key for them. The only problem is that even with how well she's been playing, she's still only playing about 15 to 16 minutes. So you're with the fantasies, because I would say if you're considering her, you'd want her fantasy because she's been racking up the stocks. That's like her primary strength and role when she comes in. But yeah, if she's playing 15, 16 minutes, you're going to want a fantasy point per minute. So that's tough. That's a tough ask against Connecticut. But the one thing is that if for any reason you think it's going to blow out, she gets all the blowout run with Stevens. So, but what are your thoughts on her? And then let's segue into Stevens because they didn't really adjust her lines at all. They just juiced her fantasy by 1, but this is not a good matchup for her.
I'll probably not have any exposure to Gardner for this one, just to not try and dig myself any kind of a deeper hole with game 1 variance. But she's been stellar for this team off the bench, and I think if we find out any kind of early news as far as copper being limited or copper anything like that, I think the plan is definitely slam Vandersloot points, and then I think we just go with the fantasy score for Gardner here.
Yeah. But yeah, if Copper's fine, that fantasy score is too high. If it was 11.5 or 12.5, I would consider it. But the matchup's not good. The minutes are low. It just doesn't seem worth it. And then I think the same applies to Stevens. I know she's been a fan favorite. Everyone's been writing her and pulling on that slot machine, but this is not a good matchup at all. How much exposure are you going to have her or at all?
No, this will be the time to get off of her props. If you go back and look, especially for the season right now, so she had one game that she started, and I think that was an overtime game, and she played 40 minutes. Obviously, the stats are going to look insane, but if you look at every other game in the season, those have been all of her season low minutes and season low performances. So there is, outside of that start, there's nothing going positive for her, and thankfully her lines aren't juiced too much per se, but they are juiced from where they were leading up into the postseason, and then after 2 really, really 3 good performances now, it's definitely time to get off of that. I think we could consider some unders here, honestly.
Yeah, it's not rebound. The rebound potential goes down. Yeah. Okay, and then any other for what are your thoughts on Emma and Quigley? I've been staying away from Quiggs. I know. Actually, I've been playing her first half. I guess she's been so aggressive in the first half, but maybe that was just due to the matchup against New York. She's had great success against New York all season. So, what do you think about them? I mean, Emma's line. I mean, pretty much all her lines have come down a lot.
Emma, I'm not really sure what I'm doing with yet, to be honest, because there's potential there, but I also could see her struggling in the first half and dealing with foul trouble as well. she's a big old question mark for me. I'm probably just going to fade all of her props right now and see how this first game shakes out. I think I would give the benefit to Stevens to have a better game than Emma, but I kind of like the Quigley call though. She's had a fairly real point success against Connecticut, or against Connecticut here. The going back, so she had a pretty terrible performance in June that first game, but every game since she's put up 13 plus against them, and not really anything crazy, 8 to 10 shots, but that's been kind of a average game for her so far. So I can get behind that.
Am I missing anyone else? Yeah, Copper's wait and see. I think, number one for Candace would be rebounds, like we said, and then look out for a turnover prop. I think the turnovers, the potential is really high for her here against Connecticut because they're so scrappy and physical and they force turnovers. Let's see how many she had 4 turnovers in that last game. So, you agree with those rankings? Am I missing any others that you had on your list for Chicago?
No, I think that's about it right now. Keep an eye out. They could drop a couple of random free squares for us again, like with Copper 0.5 blocks or
Yeah,
0.5
right.
stocks. I think we should definitely try to be ready for the secondary props because it looks like PrizePicks, they've been messing up a couple lines lately in a couple variety of sports. I don't know if that's their schedule is just kind of getting overwhelming for them, but I've seen it now, especially this week in particular, with them adding like college football and doing some of the NFL seasonal stuff. They've had a couple boo boos up there, so you guys keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll be able to add more for Chicago once we get confirmation on Copper, why she missed practice. But I mean, either way, I think Candace and Bannister can go right back to him as the primary targets. And
Yeah,
then obviously
absolutely.
the first game we'll be able to get a lot of more props from to pull from and to fill a card. So different combinations. Okay, we'll do our team card. For that, Exit said, "I wish PrizePicks would add more props sooner. What are they waiting for?" For the secondary, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what goes behind why they hold out in the secondary props.
Yeah, there's no reason to it because I mean for the same reason that they dropped the first game props like super early and then held out on the second ones. Like we're not waiting on any news or anything.
Right.
More than likely they're just trying to test the field.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you want to go first?
Yeah. Let's go with Asia's points. I still really like that.
Okay. I will go with Jackie's fantasy, or I'll go JJ's fantasy.
I like that. She ain't gonna let us down again.
Nah. All right.
So I'm thinking Parker rebounds. Was that gonna be your next play or no?
It was. I mean, yeah. I think either Parker rebound or Jackie fantasy. Those are probably like my 2 other favorite leans so far. Yeah. So if there's another one you had, I would just. Oh, we got a punt. Nice. All right. I can do Kansas rebound if you wanted to add something else.
Okay.
That you really liked, that you were really keen on.
I think I still really like Stewart's rebounds. I
Okay.
think she's locked in for a double-double right now, even if Tina performs decent.
I'm with you. See if I'm missing anything. I think okay, yeah, this will be good. And then if you want to throw in a 5, throw in Jackie or Fantasy or Vandersloot's points Fantasy once we get news on cover.
Yeah, I like that.
I feel really good about this. I mean, we're going with the key main pieces and going with what they really thrive in and do their best at. So, and I mean, yeah, we know Bree and Candace are going to go all in to get those boards to help carry the team. So, yeah, I like this. Okay. Did you have anything else? Are you going to get a video out on Sunday as well? Because we'll have all the secondary props, and you'll probably add some of those into your video, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping we get them out sometime reasonable before late Saturday, and I'm hoping to do a video on Saturday if I can.
Okay.
That way we can just grind on Sunday.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that. It's Eric's Prop Stop is his channel, and the link is below in the description if you want to find it. And yeah, so he'll probably have a more clear picture like on Copper's injury status and then all those secondary props that we weren't able to talk about today. Because I think we really need to keep an eye out on how they open Seattle 3-point props. Because as long as they don't get to that 2.5 mark, I think they're in play.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. We will drop our rankings too on Sunday. I guess the first game is at 4 p.m. Eastern, correct? So yeah, we'll get that out in advance in the morning, early afternoon, and both the Twitter and our Discord. So yeah, I hope this helps people who want to watch some of it over the weekend. You have plenty of time. So and yeah, I think I'm excited. I'm excited for both these games. Like you said, these are all of the 4 teams that we wanted to see in the semifinals. So I expect good games here. You just got to choose the right props here because all these teams have a lot of mouths to feed. So yeah, that's the only key piece. So definitely hedge your bets and mix and match, and probably don't go all in on individual players. All right, Eric, I hope you have a good weekend, and I guess the next set of games is on Tuesday, I believe. So we'll have a stream then. I think that's game 2 for both teams, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it's on Tuesday.
It's either Tuesday or Wednesday. It's on Wednesday. Okay.
Wednesday? Okay.
We'll be back
On
Wednesday.
Thursday first.
Yeah. Perfect. It's a 5-game series in the semis, so we'll be able to, really get a lot of game notes and film from just the first couple games, and we'll by game 5, if it makes it that far, we'll be fully ready. So, all right, guys, good luck, and we will catch you next week. Hope everyone has a good weekend. Peace.
Peace.
Let's fucking go. We about to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. Let's fucking go. We going out blazing.
Let's get hunting.
This is population. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. 24/7 researching, it's all a fantasy. But if I make the right plays, it pays automatically. Bankroll showing that I know it goes strategy. On a winning streak, I'm stacking a dose of the bookies, all get mad at me. Confident with how it plays, not clicking on a flex today. 10 times the money, and we all about to get paid. Eric and Josh on the stream, they be killing it. Never gonna stop it, they like if you feeling it. Digging the players, they all never time. You can't make up your mind and just go with your gut. Fantasizing Sasha Cloud. Gabby Williams said, watch your mouth. They 1 and they 2, I played the over, they come through. Jackie Young and Kelsey Plum, pick them both, we stacking them. Going big to the maximum, just push them in, we We about to go big.
This is the game.
We going out blazing.
Let's get hunting.
This is population.